I'm 42, a single mom of two. My youngest is 9, sweet and easygoing. My oldest, Brielle, is 17 and, well, she's complicated, brilliant, sharp-witted, emotional. Lately, we've been fighting almost every week. Little things blow up fast, and I've caught myself saying things I regret the moment they leave my mouth. The last fight started over something dumb. She came home late, again, and I lost it. I told her she was acting like a stranger in this house, that if she couldn't respect the rules, maybe she shouldn't be here at all. She didn't scream back this time. She just stared at me, nodded, walked upstairs and slammed her door. I didn't know it yet, but that was the last time I saw her. The next morning, her room was empty. No note, no message. Her bed made, closet half emptied, and the small lockbox she always kept hidden under her desk. Gone. At first, I thought she'd just cooled off somewhere. Gone to a friend's house, maybe. I called every number I could think of. Her best friend Ella, her ex, even her English teacher who she always said was the only adult who listens. Nothing. By that evening, I had a police report filed. Were kind, but not She wasn't a child, and there were no signs of foul play. Just signs of a teenage girl doing what teenage girls sometimes do when they feel trapped. I couldn't sleep that. I couldn't eat. Her little sister cried herself to sleep, asking when Brielle would come. The following morning, while tearing through her closet for clues, I found something I hadn't seen before. A soft blue notebook hidden behind an old hoodie. It wasn't just any notebook. It was her diary. It wasn't locked. It wasn't encrypted or buried in code. Just raw, handwritten entries dating back nearly 2 years. At first, I felt sick for even opening, like I was violating something sacred. I was desperate. If it had any clue about where she went, I had to read it. And the more I read, the more I realized I didn't know my daughter at all. The first few pages were harmless. Rants about homework, boys at school, drama with friends. Normal stuff. She complained about how strict I was, how unfair curfews were, how nobody gets her. That stung, but I expected it. She's a teenager. But then the tone started to shift. About 6 months ago, her entries got darker. She wrote about feeling watched. At first, I thought it was metaphorical, maybe social anxiety, or just exaggerated teen paranoia. But it wasn't. One entry chilled me. Saw him again today. Same black hoodie. Same spot near the library. He always leaves before I can say anything. But I know he's watching. I don't know if I should be scared or flattered. Is that messed up? Who was he? She never named him. Just him. Always lowercase. Sometimes she described him. Older, maybe early 20s. Said he didn't look dangerous. Just sad. Said he gave her the same kind of sad I feel when Mom pretends she's not crying in the laundry room. I had no idea she ever noticed that. I kept flipping pages, reading faster and faster. She never told me about him. Not once. Not even hinted. In the next few entries, she wrote about bumping into him on accident outside the grocery store, about how they talked for 10 minutes. That he was nice, soft-spoken, funny in a dry way. He told her he liked poetry, that he'd read something she posted anonymously on a teen writing forum and recognized her from the style. I didn't even know she was posting poetry on. One entry later, she wrote, "His name's Sean. Finally asked. He's 23. I know that's not okay, but he doesn't treat me like a kid. I feel safe with him, safer than I ever do at home." I nearly dropped the book. 23. That was the moment everything flipped. My stomach dropped. My hands started shaking. I didn't even realize I was holding my breath until I heard a ringing in my ears. The next few pages were filled with hearts next to his name. More talks they had, places they met. Sometimes near the lake, sometimes outside her school, once even in the alley behind the art store downtown. She said he bought her a necklace. Nothing fancy, just a silver chain with a little paper crane charm. I ran to her room and tore through her jewelry drawer. It was there, neatly tucked in the back. A real necklace, from a very real man. This wasn't imaginary. This wasn't a crush. This was real, and terrifying. I couldn't sit still after finding that necklace. My hands were shaking too badly to even hold my phone, but I forced myself to look through her text logs, her emails, anything that might tell me more about this Sean. But she'd been careful. No texts, no saved contacts under that name, no emails that looked suspicious. Either she deleted everything, or he was smarter than I realized. I turned back to the diary. I must have read 40 pages in one sitting, and the deeper I went, the more disturbed I felt. Because the entries started changing again. At first, it was all excitement. She wrote about how he sees me when no one else does, and how he listens better than Mom ever could. That hurt, but I kept reading. I had to. Then one night, she wrote, "Sean says the world is broken, that most people are asleep, even adults, especially adults. He says I'm one of the few who can really see." That line, it made my blood run cold. It didn't sound like a teenage crush anymore. It sounded like grooming, manipulation. I didn't want to admit it to myself, but everything pointed that. She wrote about sneaking out late to meet him, how he'd bring her food, sketchbooks, music, how they'd sit in his car and just talk for hours. He made her feel seen, heard, loved. I made her feel like a prisoner. That's what she said. I thought I was being protective. I thought setting boundaries would keep her safe. But all it did was push her towards someone who made her believe rebellion was freedom. And then I reached the most recent entry, just 5 days before she disappeared. He wants me to go with him, just for a while. Says it'll be an unplugging. No phones, no distractions. Just peace. He says I need to get away from the noise, especially from home. That once I see what life can really be like, I won't want to go back. I had to stop reading. My daughter hadn't just run away. She'd left, with him. And if what I was reading was true, she'd been planning it for weeks. I called the police again. This time, I didn't just say she was missing. I told them everything. About Sean, the diary, the necklace, the late-night meetings. I even brought the diary down to the station, flipping it open to the parts that made my voice shake when I read them out loud. They took me seriously now. A 23-year-old man luring a 17-year-old girl into disappearing with him? That wasn't a teenage runaway. That was abduction, grooming, or worse. But even then, their hands were tied. Because unless I could prove he forced her, or that she was in immediate danger, she was technically still within the gray area of the law. 17 isn't a child in every state. And even if she was, he had been careful. No digital trail, no addresses, just a first name and vague locations from a handwritten notebook. I felt helpless. That night, after putting my younger daughter to bed, I sat in the dark with a photo of Brielle and stared at it until my eyes blurred. I kept thinking about all the times I brushed her off when she tried to talk, how I shut down her emotions when they got too loud, how I told her she was being dramatic. She needed me to listen. Had I done this? Had I pushed her straight into the arms of a man who made her feel like she mattered? I didn't sleep that, or the one after. On the third day, I finally broke down and called Brielle's best friend. She answered on the second ring, and I could hear in her voice that she already knew something. I didn't ask. I just said, "Please." There was a long pause. Then she told me to check an anonymous Instagram account. She gave me the name. I opened the page. It was full of moody black and white photos, journal snippets, quotes about freedom, silence, escaping expectations. The captions were vague, poetic, and haunting, but I knew it was her. The writing sounded exactly like her diary, and in one of the videos, barely visible, shot from behind, I saw her, walking barefoot through a forest trail, and next to her, a tall man in a black hoodie. I must have watched that video 100 times. It was only 9 seconds long, shaky, and filmed at a distance. But I knew it was her. The way she walked, fast like she was trying to keep up but pretending she wasn't. The way her hair bounced when she turned her head, that was Brielle. And the man beside her, Sean, kept his face turned away from the camera the entire time, on purpose, I think. He held something in his left hand, a journal, maybe, or a map. I paused the video over and over, trying to catch any landmark, any clue in the background. All I got was trees, dense, damp, cold-looking trees. No signposts, no buildings, just wilderness. The account had been posting for months, and I never knew it existed. It wasn't under her name, not even close. The username was a scrambled version of her middle name, paired with a number that meant nothing to me. I sent everything to the detective assigned to her case. He told me they'd already found the account, but hadn't confirmed it was hers until now. He thanked me for the tip, said they were working on it, but I could hear it in his voice. He didn't think they were going to find her that way. That night, I messaged the account directly. I didn't care if it made me look desperate. I was desperate. I said, "Brielle, if you see this, just let me know you're okay. Please, no questions. I just need to hear from you." I watched that message sit unread for hours. Then, just after midnight, it showed as seen. No reply. But then something stranger happened. A new post went up. No photo. Just a black screen with white text. It said, "Sometimes freedom looks like abandonment to the ones who never understood you." No name, no context. But I knew that message was for me. That was the night something shifted inside me. I stopped waiting for the police to solve this. And I started doing something I hadn't done in a long time. I started fighting like a mother. The next morning, I pulled out an old shoebox from the top shelf of my closet, one I hadn't touched in years. It held every school field trip permission slip, birthday party invite, and art project Brielle had ever made. I started there, combing through her past, looking for anything that might connect her to nature trails, forests, camping sites, somewhere remote enough to disappear, but not so far she couldn't get there on her own. I also went back to the diary. I read every word again, slower this time. I looked for patterns, times, places, references. She mentioned the spot by the stream 3 times, a hidden cabin, a name, Cliff's Hollow. It didn't sound real, not officially, so I started Googling. Turns out Cliff's Hollow is an actual nickname for a trail system about 2 hours outside our not listed on state park maps, The kind of place hikers talk about on Reddit threads and old camping. No cell phone towers, just woods, silence, and people who want to be left alone. I called the detective, told him what I found. He thanked me, didn't sound excited, said they'd make a note of it and follow up if necessary. Necessary? That's when I realized I couldn't wait for them, so I made a decision. I asked my sister to watch my youngest for the weekend, packed a small bag, filled my car's tank, printed every single photo of Brielle I could find, and drove toward Cliff's Hollow myself. I didn't have a plan, just a direction and desperation. I got there by late afternoon. The trailhead was nothing but a dirt path behind a rusted-out gate. No ranger station, no official sign, just 2 bullet-riddled warning plaques. One about black bears, the other about trespassing. I stood there for a long time, holding Brielle's picture in my hand, wondering what kind of man leads a teenage girl into this and calls it peace. Then I started walking. No service, no map, no backup, just me, the trees, and the thought that somewhere, out here, my daughter might be waiting, or worse, not waiting at all. The trail was barely a trail, just flattened grass and broken branches, like it had been carved by feet that came through often, but didn't want to leave a trace. It was quiet, too quiet. Even the birds seemed to know something wasn't right here. I walked for over an hour. My legs were aching, my palms sweating around the photo of Brielle I still hadn't let go of. Every few minutes I called her name, not shouting, just loud enough to carry. Nothing, no voices, no music, no sign of a cabin. Then I noticed something odd. Little markings on trees, tiny slashes in the bark, 2 vertical, 1 diagonal, always low to the ground. I followed them, not because I knew what they meant, but because they had to mean something. After another 20 minutes, I found a campsite. Empty fire pit, old logs for sitting, a half-collapsed tarp shelter covered in moss, but it didn't feel. The ashes in the pit were still gray. Someone had been here, recently. I took out my phone to snap a picture, forgetting I had no service. Still, I kept going. There had to be, and there was. Just beyond the camp, half hidden behind a thick curtain of ferns, I saw it. A small cabin. Not some rundown shack. This was built. Clean lines, narrow windows, a solar panel on the roof, no address, no mailbox. Just there, tucked into the trees like it was part of them. I stepped closer, heart pounding so loud I could barely hear my own breath. The curtain inside the window moved. Someone was in there. Then the door creaked open, and a girl stepped out. Dirty hoodie, backpack slung over one shoulder, hair pulled into a messy braid. It was her, Brielle. She saw me, and froze. And before I could speak, a man's voice called out from behind her, calm and slow. You weren't supposed to bring anyone here. Everything inside me screamed to run to her, to grab her, hold her, make sure she was real and whole and safe. But I didn't move, because the moment that voice came from behind her, Brielle stepped forward, blocking the doorway like she was protecting him. I called her name. She flinched. Then the man stepped into view. Sean, older than she described, maybe closer to 30 than 23, pale, calm, that kind of stillness that feels rehearsed, practiced. His eyes didn't leave mine, even as he placed a hand on Brielle's shoulder like she was something fragile, and his. I asked her to come with me. I said I wasn't mad, that I just wanted to take her home. I told her her sister missed her, that I missed her. Brielle looked at me the way strangers look at a car crash, curious, but removed, like I was something she used to know, a shape from a dream she didn't want to wake from. Then she said, barely above a whisper, "You don't get it. I chose this." Sean stepped in front of her, said I needed to leave, that I was interrupting something delicate, said I was bringing panic into peace. I lost it. I told him I was calling the police, even if I had to hike all the way back to town, that what he was doing was illegal, manipulative, disgusting, that she was a child, and that's when he said it. She's freer now than she ever was in your world. Brielle didn't argue. She didn't run to me. She just stood there, holding that paper crane necklace between her fingers, like it was an anchor keeping her in his orbit. Then she closed the door, right in my face. I stood there for a long time, frozen, trying to figure out if I'd just lost her again, or if I'd never really had her to begin with. I don't know how long I stood there. Could have been minutes. Could have been hours. The cabin didn't make a sound after the door shut. Not even footsteps. Just silence, thick and suffocating, like the woods had swallowed her whole. Eventually, I turned back. My legs didn't want to move, but I forced them. Every step felt like failure, like I was leaving my child behind in a place I had no power to pull her from. By the time I reached my car, the sun had dipped low. My hands were shaking too much to turn the key. I had to sit there, forehead pressed to the steering wheel, and let myself break down. She didn't cry. She didn't even hesitate. She chose him over me, over her sister, over everything we built. And the worst part? She looked calm, like she truly believed this was better, like I was the villain in a story she'd already rewritten without me. Back in town, I filed a full report, told the detective exactly where to find the cabin, what it looked like, what he looked like. I begged them to go out there, to bring her home, even if she didn't know she needed saving. They told me they'd open a formal investigation, but they warned me if she insisted she wasn't being held against her will, there wasn't much they could do. She was 17, only a few months from legal adulthood. Unless they found proof he was coercing her, or that she'd been harmed, their hands were tied. So I did something I didn't want to do. I called her father. We hadn't spoken in almost 6 years. He left when Brielle was 11, started a new life, new wife, new kid, but I didn't care. I needed backup. I needed someone, anyone, who still had a piece of her heart. He didn't ask questions, didn't make excuses, just said, "I'll be on the next flight." And for the first time in days, I felt like I wasn't alone in this. Because no matter what Brielle believed, this fight wasn't over yet. Her father arrived the next morning. He looked older, thinner, guilt hanging off him like a wet coat. But I didn't care. We didn't talk about the past. We didn't argue about who left who, or why. We just sat at the kitchen table, staring at her photo, both of us silently begging the other to come up with a plan. By noon, we were back at Cliff's Hollow, but this time we didn't go in blind. We brought a park ranger from the nearby conservation area with us, an older man named Grant who knew the backwoods like the veins on his own hands. He'd heard rumors about the cabin, said it had belonged to a survivalist who passed away years ago, claimed kids sometimes used it to party, but no one had been out that far in months. We told him someone was living there with our daughter. He didn't ask many questions, just grabbed his flashlight, checked his GPS, and walked. When we reached the cabin, it was different this time. The door was open, no sound, no smell of smoke, no footprints. It was empty. Inside, the bed was made, the table cleared, the firewood stacked neatly in the corner, like no one had ever lived there at all, like it had only imagined being occupied. But on the floor, tucked between two loose floorboards, we found it, her journal. Not the one I'd read before. This one was newer, smaller, just a few pages. Most of it was drawings, trees, clouds, a hawk, a pair of hands. Then, on the last page, a note written in her tiny, looping handwriting. "If you're reading this, I'm okay. I just needed to feel like I had a choice. Sean helped me see the world differently, but he's not my forever. Neither is this place. Don't try to find me. I'm not lost. I'm just learning how to exist without feeling trapped. I'll come back when I know who I am. Please tell my sister I love her, and tell Mom. I see her now, even if I didn't before." I sat down on the floor and wept. Not because she was gone, but because she was still in there, still trying to find herself in the mess I helped build. It's been 5 weeks now. No calls, no texts. But every so often I check that anonymous Instagram account. It still posts. Just once in a while. A tree, a train station, a journal page with a haiku scribbled in charcoal. One post 3 days ago nearly broke me. "The moon is just light, borrowed from something bigger." I think I'm like that. I don't know where she is, but I know she's alive, and for now, that's enough.